Good morning, good evening, friends. Welcome to my channel, Ek Kitab Se Ek Moti. Today I'm going to read a page from this book. It's titled Morning and Evening. Now, these are called devotionals. Devotional, in a sense, you'll have something to read every day, a portion to be read every day, and you can meditate on the verses you read, or you can memorize them. So this is a devotional, and it consists of a thought for each day, two thoughts actually, one for the morning and another for the evening. So that's why it's called morning and evening. So for example, if you see for November 4, you have two pages. Morning on the right hand side, there is right hand side for me. So right hand side you have this page, morning, and the left hand side it's evening. So these are called devotionals, and I have many devotionals, some of them written by in fact most of the devotionals I have been written by E. Stanley Jones. So I'll be making a few videos on his books. For example, I'm just going to mention the titles. So Victorious Living, and The Way, and Abundant Living, and a few others. So I'm going to make a few videos on each of those books. So today I'm going to read a page from Morning and Evening by Charles Spurgeon. Charles Spurgeon was a prolific speaker. I think his complete works fill several volumes, I think, maybe 10 volumes. I'm not sure about the number, but his speeches fill several volumes. So his collected speeches and his collected works are available. Most of them are available online because he wrote several hundred years ago, or spoke several hundred years ago. So most of his books are available online. Now let me read this. So this is for November 4, morning. For my strength is made perfect in weakness. This has been taken from the Bible, 2 Corinthians 12:9. A primary qualification for serving God with any amount of success and for doing God's work well and triumphantly is a sense of our own weakness. Triumphant, I'll just check the pronunciation. I usually get some doubt, whenever I hear this word triumph. So it's just let me check the pronunciation. Triumphant. So triumphant. Let's see.
Triumphant.
Yeah, so my pronunciation was okay. So let me start reading it again. For my strength is made perfect in weakness. A primary qualification for serving God with any amount of success and for doing God's work well and triumphantly is a sense of our own weakness. Now, this might seem contradictory. When we unpack this concept, we'll discuss it in more detail. When God's warrior marches forth to battle, strong in his own might, and boasts, I know that I will conquer. My own right arm and my conquering sword will bring me victory. Defeat is not far away. This is a reference to extreme self-confidence, because self and devotion, these are contradictory terms. Contradictory in a sense, why it's contradictory, I'll discuss them in a bit. But what I'm trying to say is, self denotes selfishness, and devotion denotes like complete annihilation, or complete extermination, or complete removal, or driving away of selfishness. That's what devotion is. Anyhow, we'll discuss them in detail later. When God's warrior marches forth to battle, strong in his own might, and boasts, I know that I will conquer. My own right arm and my conquering sword will bring me victory. Defeat is not far away. God will not go forth with that man who marches in his own strength. Now this goes against worldly thinking, but we'll We'll see why it's so important. God will not go forth with that man who marches in his own strength. He who counts on victory has calculated wrongly, for it is, and there's a quotation, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. Now in the Bible, Lord of hosts, in a sense, host in a sense, army. That's one of the names of God in the Bible. Lord of hosts, or in Hindi it is Sena ka Yahoah. Yeah, Sena ka Ishwar. So, Lord of hosts, a God of armies. Those who go forth to fight, boasting of their prowess, will return with their colorful banners trailed in the dust and their armor stained with disgrace. Now, the English is just amazing. I mean, if you want to improve your English skills, writing skills, speaking skills, it's a good exercise to read some portions from Spurgeon, read them loudly, and note the phrases that he's used, and maybe modulate your voice a bit. I believe that will improve your communication skills. I might be mistaken in my view, but that's my view. Those who serve God must serve him in his own way and in his strength. Now, H is in the uppercase, so it's referring to God. So those who serve God must serve him, that is, serve God in his own way, that is, in God's own way, and in his strength, that is, in God's strength. Or God will never accept their service. What man does unaided by divine strength, God can never own. The mere fruits of the earth he casts away. He will reap only that corn whose seed was sown from heaven, watered by grace, and ripened by the Son of divine love. God will empty out all that you have before. God will empty out all that you have before he will put his own into you. He will first clean out your granaries before he will fill them with the finest of the wheat. The river of God is full of water, but not one drop of it flows from earthly springs. God will have no strength used in his battles, but the strength that he himself imparts. Are you mourning over your own weakness? Take courage, for there must be a consciousness of weakness before the Lord will give you victory. Your emptiness is but the preparation for your being filled, and your casting down is but the making ready for your lifting up. And he ends with this, with these words: when I am weak, then am I strong. So this is what I have for today from this great book. So let's unpack, unfold, and discuss these concepts in some detail. Now, I'll just pause the video for a moment. My apologies for the interruption. So, I was talking about this unfoldment, or the unpacking of the concept that is, for my strength is made perfect in weakness, or when I'm weak, then am I strong. What does that mean? What Spurgeon is trying to say, I mean, using biblical quotations and his own experience maybe. So what he's trying to say is that when you believe in your flesh, or believe in your own powers, your own intellect, your own physical strength, your own mental strength, your own spiritual strength, then you are kind of becoming independent. You're trying to be independent of this universe. But the fact is that let's not talk about God at the moment, but just look at the natural phenomenon that you see in the world. Is my body independent totally? No. I draw sustenance from the food I get from the earth, the fruits, the fresh air, the fresh water, the fresh food that's available in the universe. So that alone tells me that I'm not independent in this world. I'm dependent on this material universe for my physical existence. I need the sunlight, I need air, I need water, I need food, I need a weather that can, or climate that can sustain my physical existence. I need trees, I need plants, and we need other sources of food from this universe. So physically, I'm not independent. So to be extremely self-confident it goes against even natural phenomenon. So if you if you observe nature, you'll see that you are dependent on nature for your sustenance, physical sustenance. Let's look at mental independence. Am I independent mentally? No. The language that I'm using to express my ideas and even to think. I mean, we think with symbols and pictures as well, but primarily we think with words. So have I invented any of the words that I'm using? Hardly any. Maybe Shakespeare invented a few words. Milton, a few writers have invented a few words. But most of us have rarely invented a new word. Even if we have invented new words, we haven't invented the grammar of the language. We just speak that language. There was an attempt to create some artificial language, Esperanto, I think. I don't know how it's pronounced, but it didn't work. But even that was not a totally independent language. I mean, they borrowed some structures from existing languages. They tried to create an artificial language that was equally simple or equally difficult or equally simple for everyone. So everyone was at the same level playing field in terms of using that language. Anyhow, that was an unsuccessful experiment. But I think there are still people who use Esperanto. But what I'm trying to say is, even mentally, we are dependent on the external world or the world that already exists. The language I use was not my own invention. I was given that language from the society I was born in, or where I was raised, or where I received my education from. So mentally, I'm not independent. So physically and mentally, and I'm dependent on this universe. Spiritually, am I spiritually independent? Now, how do we test that? So what is the spirit? Then we'll have to define it, and we'll have to go into spiritual matters. Let me see whether I should ponder over this, or I can skip this discussion and directly come to what Charles Spurgeon has to say. But according to all the scriptures, whether it's the Quran or the Bible or the Gita, the idea is that the spirit that is inside us has been given to us by God. The Gita says the spirit is a portion of himself. The Bible says that, God breathed his own spirit into Adam. And maybe this is similarly in the case maybe in the Quran as well. That there's the ruh, or it's called the ruh in Arabic or Persian, I think. So the ruh, or the spirit, even in Hebrew, I think there is a similar word for that. So Hebrew, Arabic, these are related languages. These are Semitic languages. So the spirit also is from God. So nothing is mine. Actually, that's a fact. That's not humility. That's fact. So if you claim to be totally independent and self-confident, then you are kind of misrepresenting the reality, or you are not acknowledging the facts of nature. Now, that was kind of an analysis based on actual observation of events. But now let's come to spiritual matters, or let's discuss what Charles Spurgeon says and why it's not a good idea to believe that we are strong in our own powers, or our own powers can help us live a victorious life. That is when we believe that we don't need any help from God, or we have all the powers to live our lives well without some help from spiritual sources. So to explain this, let me take some incidents from Hindu scriptures as well. So there is a story of Gaj and Grah, that is an elephant and a crocodile, in the Bhagavatam, in the Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran. So the story is it's a bit lengthy story. I'll try to just summarize it, or take just the essence of that story. So there was an elephant and there was a crocodile. So the elephant was bathing in the river, just trying to cool his body in a lake or a river or a pond, I think. So while he was bathing in the river, suddenly a crocodile catches his legs. Kind of grips the leg of the elephant in his mighty and strong jaw. And the grip of a crocodile can be extremely powerful. It's very difficult to extricate oneself once a crocodile kind of grabs any body part. So the crocodile grabbed the leg of the elephant in his jaw. So, and then there was a struggle between the elephant and the crocodile for a long time. So on occasions it seemed that the crocodile will be victorious, and the crocodile will kind of drag the elephant into the pond, and that way end the life of the elephant. And sometimes it seemed the elephant will overpower the crocodile by pulling him to the land, to the dry surface, and crushing the head of the crocodile, maybe, and destroying the life of the crocodile. So it seemed on occasions that the elephant will be victorious, and on other occasions it seemed the crocodile will be victorious. But in the end, gradually the crocodile started winning that battle, and the elephant knew that his end was near. So the crocodile started dragging the elephant gradually into the pond, and the elephant started submerging or drowning or sinking. And while he was sinking, then he just thought of remembering God. And while he was gradually drowning in the river or sinking, he took a flower, I think a lotus flower, into the tip of his trunk. And as he was submerging, he just lifted his trunk and kind of offered that lotus to the Lord in that kind of posture, and started praying a prayer. That's called the Gajendra Moksha prayer. Madan Mohan Malviya used to say that Madan Mohan Malviya was a great educationist. He was from Varanasi. His ancestors were from Gwalior, I think, but he had his home in Varanasi, so he settled here. His ancestors settled here. So he used to say that if anyone is in debt, he should read the Gajendra Moksha with a lot of humble attitude towards the Lord, and with an attitude that he or she needs a rescue, and needs to be rescued by God from their especially financial troubles and debt. So that will help them. That was Madan Mohan Malviya's view. So that's the story of Gajendra. And so while he was sinking, and while he was praying that prayer or singing that hymn or psalm, the Lord Vishnu appeared, and he kind of threw his chakra, or I don't know what's the English term for that. It's a rotating weapon. It rotates. It's a disc, actually. That was his disc. It's called the chakra. So he just released it from his finger, and it just rushed towards the crocodile and cut his body into two, or kind of decapitated the crocodile, and the elephant was saved. So that's the story. But what's the lesson that we draw from it? We draw this lesson that the elephant was trying to win the battle in his own strength initially. He was confident that he would be able to defeat that mighty crocodile, but later on he realized that his own physical strength was insufficient for him to rescue himself. And that's when he surrendered his powers to the Lord, and he knew that he was sinking. And that's when God appeared to him. So that's the lesson we learned from this, that on many occasions we feel that we will be able to solve certain problems, handle certain responsibilities, or do a job well using our own physical, mental, spiritual strength. But then the realization dawns upon us that unless God helps us, we cannot help ourselves. There is a saying that God helps those who help themselves. That is true, but it doesn't mean that we become extremely overconfident and believe that we are sufficient unto ourselves, or we don't need any external help from divine sources. Especially even in the natural phenomenon, we need help from others in a sense, from the material world, or need help of other human beings. So in the spiritual realm, it's not real. In the spiritual realm, it's extremely important to have this belief that God will help us if we acknowledge our weakness, and we request that God help us and that God become our strength for us. And a similar thing appears in the life of E. Stanley Jones as well, on whom I made a video. So I'm not going to repeat that incident. So the idea is that if you turn your life over to God, as you conceive Him, it's regardless of your religious background. If you acknowledge that, you don't have the strength to really do it on your own, but you have the will to do that job. I mean, God doesn't want us to be lazy, but if we think that despite all the effort that we can muster, or all the courage that we can muster, all the hard work that we can put into a task or activity, if we feel that our own strength is not enough, then, and we acknowledge our need for God, God will fill us with that energy. God will will kind of infuse His own spiritual strength so that we'll be able to handle our responsibilities in a better way. I'll just talk about E. Stanley Jones again, just one incident that I remember from watching one of his interviews. So he was a preacher. He had a bad start, so he used to maybe find it difficult to speak in public. So what he used to say, I mean, later on he became a world famous orator, a speaker, and a great intellectual. So he used to say that whenever he used to mount the stage, or whenever he used to be on the stage, he just used to think that God will supply him the words, and he was not nervous because of that. He was not thinking what he was going to say next, whether the ideas will come or not. He just left it to God, and God used to supply words for him, or give him the words that were needed in order for him to express his ideas clearly. So with that, let me just recapitulate. So self-confidence is okay, but extreme self-confidence and overconfidence, it's not a good idea, because we are dependent on this world, physically, mentally, spiritually, and especially in the spiritual realm, especially in the religious or divine matters. Whenever we are in difficulty and we acknowledge our weakness, and we try our best and still believe that we need God's help, God will supply you the needed strength. Now, when I use the word God, that means whatever your religious belief. It can be just a divine source that you believe in, or the universal spirit that permeates the world, or it can be the God of the Bible, the God of the Quran, or the God of the Bhagavad Gita, or the God of any other religion, Saint Avesta, or the Guru Granth Sahib. So what I'm trying to say is that you just acknowledge your need for God, and God will help you and support you in the times of trouble. Thanks for watching this video.